All right, a few things before we start the session. We have, of course, to talk about the code of conduct, which will hopefully go right up there. It's standard, and I'm pretty sure you've seen it several times already. And also, when it comes to question time, I will be there with the microphone going around, and if you want to ask a question, please speak directly into the microphone. And yeah, if you have any questions, please do keep them towards the end. We'll have the presentations first. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Glenda Alvin for our first presentation.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay, good. I'm going to start off telling you a little bit about our institution. Tennessee State University is a HBCU that was founded in 1912. We are an 1890 land-grant institution. Located in Nashville, it offers 77 majors, 41 bachelor's degrees, 23 graduate degrees, and 8 doctoral programs. With an enrollment of 6,300 currently, TSU has a Carnegie classification of high research. The university has 2 libraries. The Brown Daniel Library in the main campus primarily serves the colleges of agriculture, engineering, liberal arts, health sciences, and life and physical sciences. The Avon Williams Library on the downtown location supports the College of Business, the College of Public Service, and the departments of speech, pathology, and audiology. I began as head of acquisitions at Tennessee State in 1997. I then became head of acquisitions and serials, and collection development was also a part of that. I then became coordinator of collection management and picked up procurement of databases along the way. By the time I got to assistant director, I also had accumulated circulation as a de facto supervisor in inventory. So as interim executive director of the libraries, I still occupied my assistant director position. So I did both jobs for 4 years. Then I became dean of libraries, which freed up my former position, and I was able to hire an assistant director. The tasks that I accumulated over the 26 years that I was assistant director included ordering and payment of print and e-books, serials, print and electronic, database procurement, that includes ordering, payment, license agreements, and all that comes with that, grant management for 3 Title III grants that total $1 million, preservation, binding, and repair, supervision of cataloging, reading, and inventory. At the time that I started looking for an assistant director, we had 3 librarians. We are faculty rank, and we are on tenure and promotion track. So I had 1 associate professor, I had an assistant professor who was getting ready to apply for tenure and promotion to associate professor, and I had another assistant professor. I had 2 senior library assistants and 1 library clerk. We had all worked together for a number of years, so they were used to my style of management. So when I began looking for someone to place me, although I felt I was irreplaceable, they had to be able to multitask on different levels. And you don't find that in one person. So I was looking for someone who had a varied background in collection management. They needed to have team building skills because the staff that I worked with needed to have confidence and comfort level with them. I did not want them as their dean coming up to my office telling me what the person said, how they said it, the tone they used when they said it. I just needed somebody who was going to be able to get along with the staff as well as supervise them. They needed to have the right temperament. They needed to have experience and familiarity with all aspects of collection management, the ability to supervise, the ability to manage different funding accounts. They needed to have the qualifications for associate professor because they would be coming in as a supervisor, and I did not want someone coming in as an assistant professor on on tenure and promotion track, supervising 2 associate professors. They needed to be able to manage workflow, and they needed to have the ability to get along with our external departments in accounts payable and in procurement. So once we hired Stephanie, who will be following me in this presentation, we started having one-on-one meetings. As assistant director, she was coming into this new, and she had strengths and she had familiarities with different parts of collection management, but not strength in all of them. So I started with her expertise. Her expertise was cataloging. So I started her with the cataloging operation to make sure that it was efficient. She had a public library background as well as an academic background. So I asked her to be in charge of our university library book club, and then there was some interest in offering manga. She had some experience with that, and so she was able to flow in something that she was familiar with already before jumping into the unfamiliar. So we started with the databases, the ERM module, knowing what databases we had, as well as the license agreements that went with them. We also started with the database procurement. I put her in charge of the state budget so that she would know the operation from the ground up. Because I believe when you supervise people, you need to know their job, because when they go out on family leave or back surgery, you end up doing that job. For acquisitions, we had to get familiar with our jobbers, our vendors, and we use a funding formula. I think she will tell you that that was a real learning curve, but she conquered it. We also discussed our ebook ordering. The serials management from start to finish, print, electronic, ordering, payment, dealing with the vendors. Then I also made sure that along the way, I introduced her to our customer and our sales rep so that they could start contacting her instead of contacting me. We have subject librarians' responsibilities, so I gave her those 2 and told her what the expectations were for that job, as well as the ones that she was assuming. That illustration that you see is me contemplating retirement. So it was important that she establish her management style from the beginning, because that was the one that the staff was going to live with. I had worked with some of them for 20 years, and so they're like family. I didn't want to hand them off to just anybody. I wanted to make sure that they were going to be moving forward with somebody that they respected and that they could work with, and there were not going to be any out-of-the-order problems. So when she started, I wanted her to use her management style and let them get used to that. So as dean, you're juggling a lot of different things. And so you can say, you know, I got this report, I got that report, the VP of Academic Affairs want that. But it's important to find the time to write down the basic procedures, especially if you do not have a procedures manual. When you've done the job for years and years and years, you may have it in the back of your mind somewhere that you're going to do a D drive and put all the procedures down, or you're going to, you know, have a document, but you never get around to it. So it's important to make the time to write down the procedures, even if it's just the basic procedures, and then discuss them with your successor. Unless there's a serious personnel issue, I let the supervisor find out for themselves, because they may be able to work with the person on a different level or in a different way than I do. If it's something where it's going to be reprimands or something like that, I'll let them know. But other than that, I let them adjust to the staff's personality. Also, be receptive to changes. You can have 5 different acquisitions librarians, and they all have different ways of ordering books from the same vendor, and they're convinced that their way is the best. So let them create their own procedures, because with the staff, I would tell them what I wanted them to do, but they knew what the objective was. And if they came up with a better way to do it, or just a different way of doing it that was comfortable for them, as long as it achieved the same goal, it was fine with me. And so I have had that same attitude toward the new assistant director. So I'm going to introduce her. Her name is Ms. Stephanie Rodriguez, and she will tell you the other side of the story.
Good morning. My name is Stephanie Rodriguez, and I'm the Assistant Director for Collection Management at Tennessee State University in Nashville. And so, as Glenda mentioned, I stepped into the role that she had held for a very long time, and I will assure you that she is indeed irreplaceable. But I wanted to share a little bit of how I managed the transition of coming in. So starting off, I scheduled one-on-one meetings with the staff that I had to get to know them, to understand the roles that they had, and just to get to know a little bit about them personally. I also have scheduled monthly staff meetings. So this is a time when we are all together around the table. And one of the things that I do is I send out an agenda at least a day ahead of time. I ask staff members if they have things that they want to discuss. I usually ask them to be prepared to come and talk about a specific thing. Perhaps it's a task that they are working on, an update on a project, but I give them notification early and don't spring that on them. I oversee technical services, and many of us are introverts and don't like to be caught off guard, so I want to prepare my staff before we come to meetings. I've also tried to form my own opinions. So many times in the best of intentions, someone will come along to a new employee and say, "Oh, let me tell you about so-and-so," and I have found that I really like forming my own opinion about so-and-so because I might have a very different working relationship with that person. I've also been confident in everyone's skill set. Glenda has hired an amazing staff. Many of them have been there a long time. They understand what they're doing. They are skilled. And so I have put my trust in the work that they are doing. But there have been adjustments for all of us. So as I met with them individually, I communicated my expectations. I talked about my communication style, which tends to be meet in person, discuss it, but I also like to follow up in an email. But some of the staff that I work with really just prefer written email. So not only was it communicating the way I like to share information, but it was learning the way staff participated in communication and what their preferences were. Along the way, we have lost a position in my department, and so there has been the adjustment of sharing those tasks. And as Glenda mentioned, documentation has been a priority as I've talked with staff. Again, many of them have been there a long time. They've been doing their jobs for years, and they just know how it's supposed to be done. But I like to tell them if they won the lottery and decided that they didn't want to work at Tennessee State University anymore, I would have to figure out how they do their job. And so documentation has been a primary goal for all of us. Some of the efficiencies that we have gained is that we have redistributed tasks so that there's a good flow of information. I've looked for ways of automating things. Some of those include the way we are ordering or how we are doing the order process. Some other efficiencies that we've gained is how we are doing withdrawals. I've worked with the other assistant director to create a like a timetable, so that's something that I can keep up with. And then we've also added signage throughout the department so that everyone understands what work is in what positions. But I have tried to wait to take too many changes because I think that staff can get very overwhelmed quickly. As I look back on the training that I have had with Glenda, I feel like it was very well spaced out. She talked about how she had a plan for how she handed off responsibilities, and that was very helpful. I also felt very confident to ask for what I needed. So if I had questions, I felt like it was okay to say to her, hey, I need to review this again, or can I just make sure that I'm understanding this? And there has been the opportunity for me to find my own way of doing things. And Glenda has been very good about helping me understand, no, this needs to be done this way, but here's an opportunity that I can make it my own. And then I really think that the success of our transition has come down to just a mutual respect. Glenda has let it be known that she feels like I am up to the task, and I feel like she did an exceptional job, obviously, and she hired great people, and so I have a lot of faith and trust in her leadership and the decisions that she is making. And so I feel like the last 10 months that I have been there have been a real success in moving to where we are now. And I'm going to turn it over to Mohammad.
Good morning. So I'm Mohammad Alhamad, and I'm the Director of Resource Management and Discovery at Texas A&M University in Corpus Christi. Today I'm going to talk to you about our experience in managing collection development in the absence of subject liaison program. So let's get started with some background about Texas A&M University in Corpus Christi. It was established in 1947 and called an island university due to its location on a walled island. We are at Carnegie, are two doctoral university with high research activity. We are designated as minority serving institution and Hispanic serving institution. We have over 80 programs between undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral programs. We serve over 12,000 students, or about 12,000 students from all backgrounds. So what was our motivation on this new approach? So as you all know, when we look at the landscape of librarianship, has changed a lot. And with that, librarians have been receiving more tasks and more duties with less resources. We're expected to do more with less. So our librarians, in our case, were engaged in other activities like, community engagement, student success, more demand for instruction support. So that mandated rethinking about their role and kind of free some of their time to focus on a new kind of expectations. We have also noticed that faculty are less engaged in the collection development nowadays. So that's another reason we wanted to kind of restructure the collection development approach that we're doing. And another fact, actually, the new acquisition model and its influence on our work. So subject librarians became, or subject liaisons have less influence on the collection development in general due to the new acquisition models like DDA, EBA, and big packages. So all of that all of these reasons made us think about or required us to overhaul our subject liaison program. So the first thing we thought about at Texas A&M University in Corpus Christi was realigning the responsibilities and duties of our librarians to focus on the core function of what they're doing. And so for instance, now we have student success librarians, we have scholarly communication librarian, we have instruction librarian, we have community engagement librarians, and kind of that we freed up their time from the collection development kind of activities, and they are focusing now on these core functions added to their portfolios. And on the parallel, collection development working group was created kind of to supplement that absence, and the group kind of given the responsibility of mainly all collection development activities. Another change also was because, subject liaison also do a lot of instructions. We have now instruction librarian teams. And these teams are divided based on the expertise. So it's not, the instruction sessions are not kind of responsibility of only one group of librarians. Mainly all librarians, and we are faculty in Texas A&M University in Corpus Christi, are in charge of delivering instruction sessions. So we have these kind of, this responsibility is distributed among us all. Of course, like any new change, we encountered challenges. And to be honest, to deal with collection development with the absence of subject liaison was not easy. It's really easier to have somebody expert in certain area where they can make decision. You refer to for any kind of decision. You trust them. But when we had to kind of start this new approach, at the beginning we didn't know how to kind of cover that gap, and I'll talk later on how we handled that. Another challenge was also balancing the resources between different programs and departments, because some programs were very active, very responsive, and some are not. But we're serving the students also, and we want to make sure all students have the resources they need to success in their programs. So making the right balance was not easy. Another challenge actually was how do we find the best way to communicate and continue communicating with our faculty and colleges and make them responsive. So I'll elaborate now about the new approach that we took to handle these challenges. So in response of these challenges, we, at the beginning, we realized one size fits all doesn't work in our cases, in our case and in collection development. So we decided to handle each case individually, and each renewal, each acquisition individually. And to keep the colleges in the loop of all these processes and changes, we had, library representatives or library committees in each college, and was kind of not very active. So we activated that, and that was really real success, making sure they are involved in each and every step that we're doing, and we kind of have that open channel between us and the college representatives when we do any change. So now, for instance, if we have a new change in our collection or new resources, we know to whom we need to contact, if we need to cancel, if we have questions about certain use of our resources, or we see like a trend in a database, for instance, like declining in the usage or so. We now have the faculty representatives. They can talk to us more about their usage of these resources. Maybe they can justify what's going on or the way they are using these resources, because not all resources are journals and books. We have other type of resources. Another way of promoting for the usage of our resources and making sure they are seen and highlighted was to utilize A to Z lists and LibGuides to highlight what we want to highlight in our collection. So we have like featured databases, for instance. We have in LibGuides some areas where we can highlight the resources that we want to highlight. And normally, like the collection development working group, when we see some changes, we also talk to the instruction librarians to make sure they let our users know about these changes. One of the important process that we took when we evaluated the resources was the cost per use. And in our case, cost per use, we're all using it, but in our case, it did not dedicate our kind of decision. But it was very important for us to flag certain resources, to kind of deep dive in that kind of resource and see why there's certain trend in this resource before renew or investigate further or communicate even with the faculty. As I said before, we started to consult directly with the faculty, and that was really important. We learned a lot about their usage of our resources and how they utilize it. One of the lessons learned was, abstract and indexing databases. We learned aspects of the way they're using it we did not count for. So that was really important. And we took a flexible approach in renewals. We just go case by case, and we look at the cost per use. Based on that, we kind of invest more time before deciding on any renewal. I have to say here that one of the most important reasons of the success of this approach was the leadership support, and that was really has been paramount. We were assured from the beginning that we're trying this approach, and this is kind of pilot take, and if it did not work, that's fine. We can have a different approach. So in our library, we have like high fault tolerance, and we are encouraged to try new ways, new approaches in our way, in our work in general. So the encouragement and the support throughout the process was really important to continue, because at the beginning, as I said, the communication, we thought that it won't work, but we along the way we have been always like assured that it's okay. If it didn't work, we will figure it out. We will try a different approach. And another important factor, actually, the resource budget preserved for the collection, for the resources. So when we make decisions or cancel resources, we knew these funds won't go for different purposes. It was reserved, and for our collection, for the resources. So that way we continued even not only maintaining our resources, but to grow. And we had to deal also with a budget cut, minor budget cut last year, and that did not really affect us much because we had a lot of cancellations due to we started to evaluate resources deeper, and we realized there are resources, we don't need them. So with that, like, we have now enhanced focus on our users. Most of our resources, or all of our resources, we went through them one by one, and we know they are getting used, and they are serving the purpose of the acquisition of these resources, renewal of these resources, and they fit directly with the courses and curriculum activities on our campus. We streamline the collection development processes, and now, you know, after 2 years in this, we know what to do. We know how to deal with the challenges, and we have effective way of communicating with the faculty, with our users as well. And we have amazing cross-departmental collaboration. We always, you know, the user services, instruction teams, we have kind of continuous discussion with the resource management and discovery, and with the collection development working group, and that was really important in the success also of our collection development activities. So I started to run out of time. The lessons we learned and a recommendation from this approach that we took, we learned that flexibility is essential in any new approach. You can't just, you know, this is how we're gonna do it. You can pivot in the middle, that's okay. You know, to have also the leadership support is really important, to kind of try new things, new approaches. And communication was vital in our case. We always had a way to communicate any changes in our collection with the faculty, with users, with the community, whether it's through, you know, library website or our social media accounts. We had a way to communicate with our users and, you know, to engage them. And of course, one size does not fit all. We have in libraries, we have, you know, especially with the current landscape, with all changes are going around us, we have to take each case separately and, you know, evaluate it accordingly. At the end, I want to just close by, if this will work. So our experience at TAM UCC has shown how reimagining traditional roles can enhance the library ability to support the academic community. Also, the support from our leadership and our willingness to adapt have been crucial to our success. And with that, thank you for your attendance today, and we're ready to take questions.